Hello everybody, I'm Raphael Perry and it's time for some more Lone Wolf. Last 2 or 3 weeks Lone Wolf has slipped from Wednesday to Thursday. That's not intentional, it's been kind of accidental. I'm trying to get things back on track here. Life's just been a bit awkward recently, that's all. Okay, so last time we had escaped from Barraka and been rescued by Barraka in his magnificent ship that sails through the air, crewed by dwarfs from the Kingdom of Boar, with their exotic, strange firearms. And we've just fought off a group of pursuers. Let's continue. Are we injured? No, we are not, so I don't need to worry about healing. And once again, I'm recapping the last section. 2 dwarfs clamber onto the platform and hurry to their young captain's side. One flicks open a red velvet satchel strapped to his barrel-like chest and removes a glass vial and a clean linen bandage. They attend to the wound and as his strength returns, Barnadon listens intently to your account of the terrifying events that have led up to this meeting. As you conclude your woeful tale, Barnadon speaks, his voice full of grim determination. The future of Sommerlund rests in our hands, Lone Wolf. We must stop Lord Harkon from destroying the Book of the Magnakai. I have heard tell of the tomb of the Marjan from the nomads of the Dry Main. They say it is a terrible place, a place of horror and death, for what little there is left. They say that it is a terrible place, a place of horror and death for what little is left there to die. For what little there is left to die there. See, this is a continuation, that dash, it's not a comma. They say it is a terrible place, a place of horror and death for what little there is left to die there. It lies beyond the Dahir, near the oasis of Baal Loftan. That is all I know, for the Marjan hid their tombs well, and what few traces remain have long since disappeared beneath the shifting sands of the Dry Main. Furthermore, the oasis of Baal Loftan appears to have disappeared completely from the map as well, under the shifting sands. We'll have to hope our friend and his magnificent flying ship can find it. That is all I know. Yes. Your face conveys the disappointment you feel upon hearing these words. However, all is not lost, says Barnadon, undaunted. There is a man who can guide us there. His name is Tipasa Edoruk, Tipasa the Wanderer. It is he who we must seek, for he is the only man who has ever entered the tomb of Marjan and lived to tell the tale. Barnadon takes over the helm as his extraordinary ship, the Skyrider as the dwarfs call it, speeds through the gathering darkness towards the Dahir Pass. Visibility diminishes with each passing minute, until finally you can see no further than the outriggers. You feel uneasy. If the Skyrider veers but a fraction off course, you'll be smashed to pieces against the mountainside. But wasn't Barnadon using a crystal ball to guide it? So the Dahir Pass, yeah, we're still moving from the Lake of Imrahim. Imrahim, not Imrahim. Don't worry, Lone Wolf, says Nolrim, the dwarf of the velvet satchel. The captain will see us through. And he's got that broad chest, so he needs a good deep voice. Barnadon stands with his hand resting lightly on the glowing crystal, relaxed as if in a trance. His eyes are closed, and a crackle of energy like fine white lightning traces an intricate pattern over his forehead and temples. The dwarf leads you to a cabin at the rear of the craft, where the crew are excitedly recounting their victory over the Kran riders. They are seated about a table cluttered with plates of steaming food and jugs of foaming ale. The rich smell of spiced meat and boar brew fills your nostrils, reminding you of how ravenously hungry you are. You make short work of the meat and marrow placed before you, restore 3 endurance points. We're at full health for now. However, you are unsure about accepting a jug of ale. Boar brew is so strong that in many cities of Magnamund it has been banned for fear of the havoc it can cause. What I remember of this, we could accept a jug of the notorious ale. A jug! Not just like a beaker or something, you know. Or decline the offer. Now, if we refuse, we risk hurting their feelings. If we accept, we could get really drunk and seriously impair our abilities. Possibly even pass out and sleep for quite a few hours. That being said, we've got a long journey ahead of us. If we were going somewhere cold, then maybe drinking this might keep us warm. I'm not going to risk it. I seem to remember it being something negative. The dwarves are not offended by your refusal. They've seen men stirred to fury or laid unconscious by a jug of boar brew. Nolrim grasps the tankard and downs the draught with one awesome gulp, removing the froth from his ginger beard with a practised flick of his forefinger. We can ask other dwarfs, how they came to be under Barnadon's command, or just bid them good night. No, let's ask. Let's find out what's going on. Let's gain a better understanding of them, their culture, their reason for being here, their purpose, and then we'll have a better understanding of how they might act in future instances. You learn that the dwarves were once the crew of a more conventional vessel, a merchantman that sailed the Tantarius of southern Magnamund. The Tantarius is a vast expanse of lakes and landlocked seas which connect to form a continuous canal stretching nearly 3,000 miles. They were created, as was the Rime Rift of Durenor, by a massive landslide. 3 years ago, the dwarves' former captain, a dwarf named Quan, lost his ship, cargo and crew whilst gambling at cards. It seems the unfortunate captain was unaware of Barnadon's true profession until it was far too late. As a result, Barnadon became the dwarf's captain, and ever since they have adventured with him across the lands and skies of southern Magnamund. The Sky Rider itself was given to Barnadon by the magicians of Desi in return for his help in defeating the Gagadoth, a monstrous creature that terrorized their land, over which their own sorcery could not prevail. That would be the magicians of Desi, not the dwarfs of Bor. The Sky Rider was travelling from Desi on his way to Barrakish when you appeared. The dwarves have overheard you talk with Barnadon and are excited by the prospects of a new adventure. They seem undaunted by the deadly dangers that it will certainly involve. The fatigue of your ordeal finally catches up with you. This is the same section. Yes, this is same as the Bid Them Good Night section. I suppose if we're playing the book again, and I don't want to reread this whole section, we could skip it and move on. Or if you're just not interested in the world or the story itself and just want to get to the action. Seems as if the fatigue of my ordeal may be catching up with me. Hopefully not before I finish the episode. You are finding it impossible to keep your eyes open. Nolrim shows you to a bunk in the hull of the Sky Rider. Gratefully, you climb into bed and pull the blankets over your aching limbs. Nolrim apologizes that the bunk is too short, but his words fall on deaf ears. You are already asleep. Restore 2 endurance points for this much-needed rest. Again, we're on full for now. You wake shortly after dawn to the sound of the snoring dwarfs and the low hum of the Sky Rider. Gathering your equipment, you climb on deck to find everything in shadow, for the Sky Rider is hovering beneath a massive outcrop of sandstone that juts out from the side of a mountain thousands of feet above the valley floor below. Barnadon stands at the helm, but he is no longer in a trance. "Kran riders," he says, pointing to the sun-bleached valley beyond the shadows. "They arrived with the dawn." You stare out across this alien landscape, a mountain valley filled with pillars of massive and precariously balanced boulders. The Vassagonians call this place the Koos, the Needles. The rocky columns reach so high into the sky that an avalanche seems unavoidable. Perched upon 2 of the columns are Kran, their Drakarim riders scouring the valley with telescopes. An hour passes before they take to the air and disappear. "Trim the boom same, Bosun Nolrim," orders Barnadon, his voice barely audible above the increasing hum of the Sky Rider. "With a fast run ahead." Do we possess a black crystal cube? I don't believe we do. We do not. I imagine we would have gained that from some kind of villainous foe, and it would allow them to track us. Or maybe sense their presence, their approach, but since we lack this item... Oh, special item, yeah, we just don't have it. We shall continue without. The voyage through the coups is breathtaking. The Sky Rider glides between the towers of rock that rise from the valley floor with fantastic and unearthly grandeur. Far below, sulphurous water bubbles from fissures in the orange ground, and streams of hissing lava carve circular channels which glow like motes of liquid fire. You watch the sky, but there are no signs of the enemy. "Ikaresh," says Banadon pensively, "the eagle's lair. That is where we will find Tipasa the Wanderer. It is the place of his birth and the home of his family. He roams the dry main, but he always returns to Ikaresh." It is late afternoon when you reach the hills beyond the coups that overlook the town of Ikaresh. Barnadon moors the Skyrider to a pinnacle of stone, and a rope ladder is lowered to the ground. It has been decided that you and he will enter Ikaresh on foot and locate Tipasa, while Nolrim and the crew wait in hiding for you to return. The sight of the Skyrider hovering above the mountain town would be sure to arouse unwanted interest in your arrival. You and Barnadon prepare yourselves for your mission by staining your skins of brown kopala berries and dressing in the grey and white robes commonly worn by the mountain people of this region. You bid farewell to Nolrim and set off across the barren hills and pick a number from a random number table. Okay. Nope, we don't need tables. That's a completely different section of tables. We need the dice roller. Throw in a 10-sider. We get a 4, which does not fall into the narrow 0 to 2 range, but in the broader 3 to 9 range. So hopefully something rare hasn't happened. And the rare things are very rarely required. You trudge through the loose red sand, your faces covered to protect them from the dust and the blazing heat. The landscape is stark and desolate. All that seems to thrive here is the wire-hard grass that scratches your boots and leggings. You soon come across a dried riverbed that leads to a cave in the orange sandstone hillside. A wooden plaque is nailed by the mouth of the cave, but you are unable to understand the strange words painted on its sun-blistered surface. It could be a warning. It could be lepers. Let's investigate. We do have Oid herb, which will be useful in case we get some kind of disease. Rows of stalactites hang from the roof of the cave like the fangs of some incredible monster, and the bubbling of a distant geyser echoes eerily through the unknown depths. You begin to explore and eventually reach a place where a natural bridge of rock arches over a streaming course of water red with ore. Huddled beneath the bridge is a pathetic figure, its body bent and emaciated. A tattered blanket covers his face, and in his withered hands he clutches a crude fishing rod. Yeah, it's going to be a leper, hasn't it? A small catch of lava crabs lies on the bank, their claws twitching as they slowly die. As you move nearer, the figure raises his face to stare at you. It is a man, but the size of his face shocks you to the core. Since we have the Kai discipline of healing, the old man's face is a mask of putrescent green sores. The pupils of his eyes are yellow, and his ragged grey lips hang in tatters. He suffers from vaxillus, an infectious disease that rots the skin and attacks the nerves, resulting in hideous mutilation and deformity. He has been cast from his community, banished to his cave where he must eke out his last few years of life in misery and solitude. We do possess weed herb, and we could give it to the poor Vaxilla, or keep it for ourselves. You know what? We might as well use it. If we're going to walk up and hand it to him, that's not wise. If we're going to put it on the floor and back off, we'll see. You place the weed herb on the stone bridge and step back. At first, the Vaxilla is suspicious and frightened. Nobody has dared to enter his cave for many years, but when he recognizes the golden leaves of the Oid herb, he breaks down, weeping tears of joy. May Vamajan bless you. May you live in eternal peace, he cries, his feeble voice brimming over with emotion. How can I repay this kindness? We can question him about Tipasa the Wanderer. Let's first remove the herb from our backpack. I knew Tipasa once, when my body was young and strong like yours. We fought the Lakuri pirates at Samiz and voyaged to a distant land where ice and snow lay thick on the ground, and the sun had not the power to melt them. Yes, I knew Tipasa the Wanderer once. All I know now is that he dwells in Ikaresh. Find the widow Sushila. She will know. She knows all that passes in Ikaresh. I'm just going to make a note of that name. As you turn to leave, the Vaxler bids you to wait. From a bundle of rags hidden beneath the bridge, he produces a gem-encrusted mace. The weapon is carved from solid silver and adorned with emeralds and diamonds along the haft. Take it, I beseech you, as a token of my eternal thanks. We can take the jewelled mace, but he's had it in his possession near him for many years, and he's had the disease for a long time. I don't think that we will later be asked if we have it, and I think having the jewelled mace later may be important. It's a special item. Okay, I will take it. It might count as a magical item if we need a magic weapon to harm things. We have the Sommerlund, so that's okay. There may be some plot reason why having it would be important. Like, we show it to someone and they go, where did you find the man who owned this? He's a very important nobleman or something. Once outside the cave, you and Barnadon waste no time in pressing on towards Ikaresh. As you near the outskirts of the town, you pass a small round hut where a goat is eating from a manger near the door. A man appears in the darkened doorway and bids you welcome. He touches his forehead in a salute of friendship and invites you to enter his humble home. We do have the Kai discipline of sixth sense. You sense that the man's show of friendship is genuine. He may be able to help you find Tipasa the Wanderer if you accept his hospitality. Then we shall enter. He's not the widow Sushila, but she may be in here. The man is short of stature, but broad-shouldered and strongly built, physical characteristics common among the tough mountain dwellers in Vassagonia. He pulls a cork from a bottle of lime-green wine and pours 3 large measures into earthenware cups. "Kursha!" he exclaims and downs the wine in one swift gulp. We're trusting him. We've sensed there's no reason not to. So we will drink the strange wine. Despite your misgivings, the lime-green wine tastes delicious. A warm glow radiates slowly from your stomach, filling you with a comfortable sense of well-being. Restore 2 endurance points. The man looks delighted by your reaction to his wine and offers to sell you the bottle for 5 gold crowns. If you wish to buy the bottle of Kursha, pay the man 5 gold crowns and make the necessary adjustments on your action chart. It is a... Is it a backpack item or a special item? It doesn't say. However, we have the money, we have the space. Kursha with an H at the end, yep. And we definitely can afford it. When we go to see the widow Sushila or Tipasa the Wanderer, this may be very helpful. We shall ask him about Tipasa the Wanderer. "Ah, Tipasa," he replies thoughtfully. "He lives near the Durga market, but exactly where his home is, I am not sure. I haven't seen old Tipasa for years. If you should find him, remind him of Kamsim the goatherd. He still owes me 12 crowns, but I have not forgotten. You thank the goatherd for his help and bid him farewell before continuing your trek to Ikaresh. So we're just going to knock down Hamsin the goatherd. Look, there's all sorts of things that matter here in this village, alright? You follow a path along a dry gully, the bed of an ancient river that once flowed through the mountains. An arid breeze blows eddies of red dust along the banks of dead earth. The white-walled buildings of Ikaresh suddenly appear, and as the dust settles you find yourselves standing in a small square close to the open archway of the town's east gate. Perched upon a tall basalt monolith in the centre of the square is an eagle, the emblem of this mountain town, cast in bronze. 3 bronze arrows are held in its beak, each indicating an exit from the square. We can go north towards the Duga market, where we have been informed we can find Tipasa the Wanderer, west towards the main square, or south towards the Avenue of Eagles. We don't know where we might find the widow. The Avenue of Eagles sounds birds of prey hunting imperial eagles. Main square, middle of town, very busy, lots of people. We probably want to avoid a bit of a crowd because our stained skin is only going to really work at a distance. It's not going to fool people up close particularly. It's just so we don't get spotted immediately. North towards the Duga market, as we've had a tip to go that way anyway. 40 paces along the street is a barracks, a long whitewashed building with ugly square windows. A soldier sits dozing in the evening sun with his spear resting across his lap. Some children are tossing hollowed-out lanoma fruits at him, trying to catch them upon the tip of his spear. Outside the barracks is a tavern with a line of saddled dugas tied to a rail near the main door. The braying of these sand horses rivals the sound of revelry drifting from the tavern door. Let's enter the tavern conspicuously, or rather inconspicuously if we can. As you approach the door, Barnadon offers you a word of advice. Take care to guard your gold, Lone Wolf. Nothing tempts the Ikareshi more than a full purse. You can trust their honour, but if you trust their honesty, they will steal the hair from your head. Inside, the mood is one of celebration. Tables have been drawn together to form a large semicircle in front of which stands a small, broad-shouldered man dressed lavishly in an embroidered costume. A gold-mounted sword hangs by his side, its blue velvet scabbard as vivid in colour as the man's silk pantaloons. Affectionately, the man embraces his companions, kissing the friends and relatives who have travelled so many miles to celebrate his wedding. At his side sits his bride, her face concealed behind a veil of shimmering pearls. Suddenly the tavern is filled with music as the guests take the floor for the wedding dance. On the far side of the floor you see the owner of the tavern, a stout old lady dressed in sombre black. She watches the festival with tears in her eyes. She's in mourning. She's probably the widow, or a widow. We can approach her and ask where Tipasa the Wanderer may be found. "Why do you ask?" she replies suspiciously, blinking the tears from her eyes. "What business do you have with old Tipasa?" "He is a friend," replies Barnadon, placing a gold crown on the tavern counter. The old woman covers the coin with her hand, her expression shrewd and calculating. "Sushila is old. Her memory has faded with the passing years," she says, waiting expectantly and glancing at Barnadon's money pouch. He opens the flap to remove another crown, but the pouch has been emptied by a nimble pickpocket. Sheepishly he avoids your stare, his face growing redder by the second. "5 gold crowns may refresh my memory," she says, her gaze now resting on you. We have the money. We probably don't want to pay too many times, though, as that may arouse suspicion. "Walk along the street to the Duga market. Behind the stables there's an alley. Tipasa lives there in the house with the blue door." As you make your way through the dancing crowd to the tavern door, you take care to keep both hands on your belt pouch. An embarrassed Barnadon follows in your footsteps, cursing his misfortune under his breath. You pass under an arch where two brass-gilded conical towers gleam like gold, and enter a marketplace crowded with squabbling merchants. Exotic carpets, brightly coloured material, and all manner of foods are being bought, sold, and haggled over. The north side of the market is devoted to the auction of dugas. The sleek but noisy desert beasts are being paraded for the benefit of the bidders around a paddock adjoining their stables. Just past the stables, a street vanishes into the carpet weaver's quarter of Ikaresh. We could investigate the stables, ask one of the merchants, leave the marketplace, continue along the adjoining street. We want an alleyway behind the stables, so we'll investigate the stables first. Oh no. As you enter the stables, you're overpowered by the smell of the dugas. You grit your teeth and clutch your nose with your robe. A small boy sniggers at your reaction and says, "You're not Ikareshi. I can tell." He mimics your grimace, exposing a line of broken teeth. Do you know where Tipasa the Wanderer lives?" asked Barnadon, holding up a silver ring. The boy's eyes nearly pop out of his head at the sight of the gleaming silver. "Oh, yes, I do indeed," he stammers in his excitement. "Walk up the street and take the first passage on your left. The old wanderer lives at the house with the blue door." Barnadon flicks the ring into the air and the urchin catches it in his grubby hands. You hurry away from the stables and begin to search for the passageway. Just as you find it, you hear the young boy shriek with disappointment. The ring is just dissolved on his finger. At the end of a rubbish-strewn alley, you find the house with the blue door. There is no reply to your first knock. You're about to knock again when the door opens a few inches and the red-rimmed eyes of an old woman stare out from the darkness. "Barnadon!" she exclaims, her voice hoarse and shaky. "Thank the gods it is you!" She ushers you both inside and locks the door. The house is sparsely furnished, and what little there is either damaged or broken. "They have taken him, Barnadon. They have taken my husband, the men with the faces of the dead. 10 days ago they came like shadows in the night." She breaks down, her frail body racked by sobs. Barnadon comforts her as best he can, but you sense he shares her bitter loss. The Drakarim have taken Tipasa, so that there is little doubt. By now they will have made him tell everything he knows about the tomb of the Majan. "We will find him, I promise," says Barnadon, wiping the tears from the old woman's face. "But you must try to help us if you can. Tipasa always kept a diary of his travels. Do you have it still?" A flicker of hope shines in the old woman's eyes. "Yes, it is here. He told me to hide it when the evil men came for him." She kneels at an empty fireplace and prizes a loose brick from the chimney. A leather-bound book drops from its hiding place into her hand. She gives it to Barnadon, who studies the yellowed pages, his face lined in thought. You notice that the book is full of cryptic symbols, numbers, and pictograms. "They are drawn by the night stars," says Barnadon, tracing his finger along the astronomical drawings. "They hold the secret, I know, but without my star charts we cannot hope to find the tomb. We must return to the Skyrider at first light. There I shall be able to make some sense of this book. Please hide it till morning back in its hiding place, so it doesn't get stolen while we rest here." You have little sleep that night as you lie thinking about the quest that lies before you, haunted by the fear that the Dark Lords may already have found the book of the Magnakai. You rise before dawn and breakfast on a meal of sheep's butter and dried milk cake, before bidding farewell to Tipasa's wife. The trek back to the Skyrider passes uneventfully, and by noon you have reached the rocky crag where the craft is moored. Nolrim is the first to greet you, but he cannot hide his disappointment that you have returned unaccompanied. Don't worry, the answer lies here, says Barnadon, holding up Tipas's diary. Prepare to set sail. As the Skyrider rises into the clear blue sky, Barnadon hands over the helm to Nolrim and bids you follow him to his quarters at the prow. For 3 hours he pores over his charts, making calculations, checking instrument readings, and racking his brain for the solution that will pinpoint the tomb of the Marjan. It's no use, he says, tired and exasperated. I cannot fathom these numbers. As you peer at the pages of Tipas's diary, suddenly you realise that they are written in code. What Barnadon had assumed to be the positions of the stars is a code to 3 numbers that give the precise location of the tomb. Consult the map to help you discover the location of the tomb of the Marjan. The first of the 3 numbers is equal to the number of oases on the trail between Ikaresh and Bir Rabalu. So, Ikaresh is where? Well, there's Bir Kabalu, and Ikaresh is here. So 1, 2, 3. It can't be more than 3 anyway, right? The second number is equal to the number of cities in Vassagonia. Now, cities or villages, that's where it gets tricky, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Potentially 6. The third number is equal to the number of islands off the coast of Cape Kabar. Free. Okay. When you have broken the code, write the numbers in order and turn to the entry that they indicate. Now, if you do not see a footnote at the bottom, you have chosen the wrong section. Come back to this section. So, we'll go 353 first. No, 363, because that might count as a city. 353 it is then. Nope. Well, that's awkward. Ikaresh and Bir Rabalu. I mean, it's definitely 3 and 3. So, just for cities. I mean, if there's no way we're counting the villages as well, right? Otherwise, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Right? It's like, no. 15. No. Not going to happen. So, cities. Tef is not a Vasconian style buildings, right? So, Ferufuzan, Kara Kala, that's 2. Barakish is 3. Kir Bir Kabalu is 4. And Basultan is 5. Now, is there a reason one of these might not count as a... Maybe. I mean, it's normally 2 buildings as a city, 1 as a village. Is Ferufuzan part of Sommerlund? It could be. No. How bizarre. I mean, wait. Cape Kabar is definitely 3 islands. On the trail. Is it really just Barrakish? That would be interesting, wouldn't it? Let's say 1, 2, 3. Oh god, 333. That's a bit No. Interesting. I mean, we are taking the overland trail, right? Not as the crow flies or something. Number of cities in Vassagonia. That's proven to be the problem. Okay, let's see. Let's just go for everything on the yellow then. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't want to say 5. We can try 6. 3, 6, 3. They might just count it just to be awkward. Nope. Well, it can't be more than that. So we go 5, 3. Okay, 3, 1, 3. No, good. No. Really? Okay. There's no way it's 7. How the fuck is it 7? 7 cities. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Where's the 7th one? So we have Tef, Ferufazan, Karakala is 3, Barrakish is 4, Bir Rabalu is 5, Bisutan is 6. Where the hell is the 7th one? Oh, it's not supposed to be like Kluchek, definitely not. Samir's Lawn. It's not Cassion, is it? Fucking hell. Oh, that would be brutal. If it was actually one that's off the edge of the map. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No. Okay, good. It's not like that. It's not Samis. Oh, we're supposed to count Kluchek as a city. Maybe. Maybe we are. It's got a tower, so it's a little bit larger than a village. That's got to be it, I think. That's it! Exclaims Barnardon, stabbing his finger into the map of the dry main that covers his chart table. 115 miles due west of Bir Rabalu. 115 miles due south of the oasis of Bal Loftan. He picks up a quill pen and marks the spot, the tomb of a Marjan. You study the map and ponder the miles of desolation separating you from your goal. Barnardon notices your look of dismay and quickly tries to put your mind at ease. Fear not, lone wolf. We'll be there before the dawn. You smile at his confidence, but it is not the actual journey that worries you. Your concern is what you may or may not find upon your arrival. Dawn is breaking on the horizon of a low hill, blurred and dotted with small tufted trees. Swiftly the Sky Rider has voyaged through the night to arrive at the foothills of the Koneshi Mountains. in whose holds the skyship is safely tucked away from watchful eyes. 20 miles to the north, across a landscape of barren rock and dry brush, lies the tomb of a Marjan. Koneshi Mountains are down. No, Char, Koneshi. Okay. So, up here somewhere? West of here, south of 20 miles is about that far, so like, essentially, up here maybe. You and Barnadon set off before the dawn, anxious not to waste either time or the protective cover of darkness. Now, as the great golden disk of the sun rises in the sky, for the first time you can see your goal. A massive excavation has exposed the heart of this scorched land, delving deep around the tombs of its forgotten ancestors. Thousands of Gaiaks, spiteful and malicious servants of the Dark Lords, labour unceasingly to remove rock and sand from this quarry, forced by Drakarim to drag their back-breaking loads up ramps to the rim of the crater. Close to the edge of the crater, an encampment of black tents surrounds a large domed canopy. Lying in the shade of this construction is a huge flying creature, an imperial's land beast. Its presence here can only mean one thing. Dark Lord Harkon has arrived. The thought chills your blood, but you draw comfort from the labour of his slaves. That they continue to labour is a sign that their mission has yet to be completed. The Book of the Magnakai has yet to be found. It is impossible to reach the crater unseen. You will have to wait for darkness before you attempt to enter the tomb. During the long wait, it is agreed that Barnadon should attempt to find Tipasa. It is likely that he is being held captive inside the encampment. The Dark Lords would be unlikely to kill him before discovering the treasure they seek. During the day, you must eat a meal or lose 3 endurance points. I'll get one back in the next section anyway. You may not use hunting if required to eat a meal in the middle of this wasteland. Make the necessary adjustments to your action chart. Hunger has been experienced. As night falls, your desperate quest begins. The Gaiaks pose few problems, but you cannot overcome with your warrior skills, for they have been overworked to the point of exhaustion. Only the Drakarim show any signs of vigilance, but even then, there is less than a dozen patrolling the entire crater. Not until you reach the main entrance to the tomb do you encounter any real difficulty. A Drakar stands on guard, his cruel eyes glinting behind his twisted iron death mask. Occasionally he diverts his attention from the watch to take a drink from a water flask. Well, if we can make his water flask spill, and he scrabbles around on the ground trying to... We do have mind over matter. You focus your skill on a nearby spade, willing the spade handle to rattle against the wheelbarrow in which it rests, as if someone had jostled it, let's say. It only takes a few seconds for the vigilant Drakarim sentry to leave his post and investigate the noise. By the time he returns, you're inside the tomb of the Marjan. As far as the eye can see, a long, straight sandstone corridor slopes away into the distance. Torches crackle and sputter on the walls, illuminating the pictograms engraved in the yellow stone. At regular intervals, rough-edged slabs protrude into the main corridor. You stop to take a close look at one of these slabs and the floor beneath it and come to a frightening conclusion. They are obviously traps, no doubt set off by the Gaiaks when they cleared this corridor of sand. Rather than instructing the Gaiaks to avoid them, the Dark Lords must have deliberately used their slaves to set them off. Once the traps had been sprung, the squashed bodies were cleared away and the slabs chiselled through to the next section. Pit traps in the floors seem to have been neutralised in the same way. Set off by luckless Gaiaks, they would have been filled in with the dead bodies and levelled off with sand. The thought of this heartless barbarity fills you with revulsion. Just over a mile along the corridor, you eventually arrive at a large stone door. The stone surround bears evidence of chisel work, but the door itself is rock solid. You notice a faint beam of light descending from a hole in the ceiling. It creates a small circular pool of light a little to one side of a similar hole in the floor. In the wall near to the door there is a triangular indentation, no larger than a gold crown. We do possess a prism. However, I went back and fake redid the first half of the book to get that, because I accidentally missed it the first time. We do have a blue stone triangle from book 3. And now would be a great time for its return. I'm just going to do this. Forced to use a prism and direct light onto the... the blue stone triangle works just as well. And it almost feels more fitting to use it here. So, holding the prism in the centre of the beam, you divert the light towards the hole in the floor. You hear the sound of stone grating on stone as the door slowly opens to reveal a large chamber. It is dimly lit, but in the dust that covers the marble floor you can see footprints too numerous to count. As you enter, you suddenly catch sight of a rough stone throne facing the wall on the far side of the chamber. Behind you, the stone door slides shut with unnerving speed. It is not clear if we would leave the blue stone triangle outside. I don't think we get to use it again after this. However, the light isn't inside. But now we have the blue stone triangle, we may be able to use it to escape again if there's a way on this side of opening the door. The throne begins to revolve. A terrible howling fills your ears, changing almost instantaneously to the growling of harsh, guttural language, the like of which you have never heard before. Words and sounds that the mouths of men could never have shaped to speak roll in through the chamber like thunder. It is the dark tongue spoken by Hakon, Lord of Arnak, Dark Lord of Helgadad. He rises from the throne, a ghastly voice still echoing from his unnatural mouth. A spiked fist opens to reveal a glowing stone, blue flames smouldering over its surface, and you can feel the currents of power that radiate from its core. Suddenly his words change, and you hear a tongue you know so well, Sommlending. "Look on your doom, lone wolf." There is a deafening crack, a surge of power, and a fireball of blue flame hurtles towards your head. Fortunately, we possess the Sommerlund. It might be very bad if we did not do so. You raise your golden sword just in time to deflect the bolt of raw energy. It screams from your blade and explodes into the chamber wall, gouging a hole several feet deep in the steel-hard rock. The impact jars the Sommerlund from your hand. The blade arcs through the dust-choked air and embeds itself upright in the stone floor. You roll across the floor and take cover behind a pillar. "Your doom, Kai Lord," spits Hakon, "is but seconds away." We could try and retrieve the Sommerlund, move to a new hiding place under cover of the swirling dust, or stay where we are. Could we move away then retrieve it? I think we need to try and retrieve it straight away, but I think he'll blast us if we do. Sod it, we have to try. You run, half-crouched, towards the golden blade. Oh, I should have all 3 points of endurance back by now. We haven't had a fight yet, have we? I'm about to lose some anyway. You run half-crouched towards your golden blade, grab the hilt and continue at full speed towards the cover of another pillar. Suddenly, a burst of energy leaps from the Dark Lord's fist, exploding into the base of the pillar, severing it from the floor. A tremendous roar fills your ears as you are thrown backwards by the shock of the blast. You lose 3 endurance points. Oh, well, I'll just take him away again, shall I? Hakon's laugh rises above the crash of falling stone until your head is filled with an agonizing pain. Ah ha 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 ha! We do have the Kai discipline of Mind Shield. Suddenly the pain subsides, but the onslaught has only just begun. A mist as black as the grave is seeping from Hakon's mouth. It creeps along his outstretched arm and settles like a cloud in the palm of his upturned hand. Whirling shadow shapes draw into focus, wings and tentacles sprout and take form. A curse in the dark tongue shakes the whole chamber as the deadly flood of horror hurtles from his hand, and now we face the horrific Crypt Spawn. This looks less like a Gary Chalk illustration and more like something we might expect to see in a Golden Dragon game book, which is interesting because I think those are Leo Hartus illustrations, aren't they? Anyway, the Crypt Spawn has a combat skill of 24 and an endurance of 40. It would probably just... It's possible that we could avoid this fight if we did not have the Sommerlund, but here we are. 24 puts us at a mere +7, which is still ridiculous. Okay. We'll go down to the combat results table, and +7 is this column here. We'll roll our first round. An 8. The enemy takes 16 points of endurance and Lone Wolf suffers none. Now, we have no indication that the Crypt Spawn is undead, even though it's called Crypt Spawn. I'm going to presume it's a magical thing that is spawned in a crypt rather than from the crypt itself, you know. So we fight on. A 7. 14 more damage. Knocks it down to 10. And we are still fine. Let's strike a third time. A 6. Oh, we're taking 1 point of damage to deal 12. The fight is over. Now, we're not in the best of situations still, but this may help us somehow. Aha! A very familiar illustration, although not one I've seen for quite a long time. As you slay the last of the Crypt Spawn, Harkon reels back as if weakened by the death of his creatures. You raise the Sommerlund, willing the blade to discharge a bolt of power that will burn the evil Dark Lord from the face of Magnamund forever. The blade shimmers with golden fire, but no searing blast issues from its tip. Suddenly you realize what has happened. You are beneath the earth, and there is no sun from which the sword can draw its power. Harkon utters a terrible laugh that shakes the floor. A beam of blue flame is growing from the stone in his hand, forming a fiery blade that crackles and spits as it cuts through the dust-choked air. He really is Darth Vader, isn't he? The stench of death and decay fills your nostrils as the Dark Lord prepares to attack. He has a combat skill of 28 and an endurance of 45. Unless you have the Kai discipline of Mind Shield, reduce your combat skill by 2 for the duration of this combat. This is where Mind Shield becomes standardized, and Mind Blast from enemies doesn't deal damage in previous combats. Okay, here we go. All or nothing now. We are only fighting at +3 against a foe with 45 endurance points. So this is going to be a harder fight. However, I want to go back and check something, okay? We are not explicitly informed that Dark Lord Harkon is undead, but everything seems to indicate that he is. The deep sepulchral voice. Let me check if there's anything. Is it double damage to undead and Dark Lords? I'm not sure. Well, we'll just fight it out and see how it goes then. +3 is here. We rolled a 3, that's kind of low. Lone Wolf suffers 3 endurance points, and Lord Harkon 7. So from 45 down to 38, and we are reduced down to 23. Ooh, okay. Roll on. We can't keep rolling high. Oh, a 10! Which actually counts as a 10 on the combat chart. Lord Harkon suffers 16 points of endurance as Lone Wolf recovers, rallying from the 1 point of damage he's taken, taking him down to 22. Oh, yes, and more like that, please. A 5. Lone Wolf suffers 2 damage, with the minus being a little hard to read at that zoom level, and Harkon 10. Plus 3. Yeah, 2. There is hope. We can do this. 1 or 2 more good rolls. Come on, a 6. Yeah! 11 damage. Defeats Lord Harkon, and Lone Wolf suffers 1 more himself. Okay. And we're going to take these notes off now. Because I see it says turn to section 400, and while this is not a fighting fantasy book, we know this is like 200 sections and a half. So, there we go. You examine the floor where Dark Lord Harkon fell, but there are no signs of his body. The atmosphere is strangely calm and peaceful, as if a great and evil shadow has been lifted. If you lost the Sommerlund in the confrontation with the Dark Lord, you may now retrieve it. Imagine if we tried to fight him without it. It would be like the fight at the end of Book 1 of Autumn Snow. The original version of the fight. Yeah. If you know, you know. And if you don't, I'm sure I'll probably enlighten you someday. You turn and walk to the throne where Harkon sat, waiting for you to appear. Beyond it lies a portal, an ancient inscription carved deep into the blood-red stone. Beyond the carving is set the impression of a human hand. Instinct and intuition guide your hand to the door. The carvings fit around it like a glove. And behold, the great and mighty tome. Oh, that's going to be episode thumbnail, isn't it? Silently, the portal slides back to reveal your destiny. The Book of the Magnakai. Set on a pedestal, the book lies open, its secrets revealed to your eyes alone. As you lift the sacred book, the very air throbs with the vibration of the force locked within its sun-gold cover. With a pounding heart, you close the book and hurry from the chamber. By the time you reach the foothills of the Koneshi, Barnadon has successfully completed his mission. He and Tipasa are waiting for you. As they see you appear, clutching the book of the Magnakai, they can barely contain their excitement. "This night of triumph," says Barnadon jubilantly, "will herald a new dawn of hope for Sommerlund. The Kai are reborn. The quest is now over. You have found the Book of the Magnakai and freed Magnamund from the shadow of the Dark Lord Harkon. But for you, Kai Master Lone Wolf, the story has only just begun. Your destiny lies along the path of the Grand Masters. To learn their secrets and attempt the first exciting quest of the Magnakai, begin your journey with Book 6 of the Lone Wolf series entitled The Kingdoms of Terror. And that indeed will be the book that we play next. It's a book I've only played a mere handful of times over years. I think 2 or 3. And it's the one with that horrible maze, blind maze in darkness with a monster that kills you if you take a wrong turn. And you have to make 5 50-50 chances in a row. I think it's right, left, left. I know it's right, left, right. I think... Is it 2 or 3 rights in a row? I can't remember, okay? It is really horribly, brutally harsh and unfair at the end. Suddenly, you know. Yeah. And it's extremely difficult at that point. Up to that point, reasonably balanced and fun. And then, of course, you get to Book 7, the Castle, which I've only played once. Successfully. And then the second time I was going to play it, I stopped at the end of Section 1 because I was left with a 50-50 choice with no clear indications at all. And the blind dungeon of auto kills at the end of the previous book had thrown me. And I needed to take a break before coming back to it. And then I just kind of left it a few years. And then the great big... Yeah. That time, I was actually playing the series using the Mongoose Lone Wolf D20 rules. and adapting and using the stats to see how balanced and tricky the fights were. Some were much easier or harder than others. Let's just say that. Anyway, we have achieved a glorious goal. We have brought back the Book of the Magnakai, and now we can begin to train up Kai initiates and aspirants. You know what? Novices. Yeah, we can begin to train novices in the Kai Monastery in between adventures. And in time, some of those novices will begin to train new novices, and we will regrow the Kai Order over time. Additionally, now, we are allowed to store items in the Kai Monastery in between adventures, and I will almost certainly be taking advantage of that feature. The monastery now becomes a safe location where we can store things. Yeah. There we go. It's a shame I couldn't find the picture that I'm probably going to go back and change the thumbnail of the previous... where are we? A previous episode, because the picture I really wanted to use was the one, the barrel roll, where the dwarfs all grab onto the rigging and Barnadon spins the ship and all the attackers fall off. But for some reason we didn't get to that. This picture. That's the one I wanted, because for some reason I mentally associate with this, the dwarf who gets punched in the face and falls off and needs rescuing. And I thought of him, crying out for help, rather than being unconscious in the web. So yeah, I'll probably do that, actually. And also it's a more fun one for people less familiar with the adventure. We have a crown in the background there. It's a whole thing spinning around going, whoa! Right. Yeah. Another one down. Our road to glory and the salvation of Magnamund continues. I'm going to end this one here because my throat is quite dry. I'm sure there are things I'd love to say. But I need to kind of give my voice a bit of a rest and go get a drink. And it's like 2:30 in the morning and the washing machine's probably going to finish soon. So, I hope you've all enjoyed this episode. And I'll look forward to seeing you all in the next adventure, which will almost definitely be back on Lone Wolf Wednesday. As usual, I'll take a week's break in between books to help me get on top of other things and just to sort of keep things a bit fresh when I come back to it. And I'll look forward to seeing you all in the Magnakai series. Bye for now, everyone, and thank you all very much for watching. For Sommerlund and the Kai, we have recovered the Book of the Magnakai, and the Kai Order can be born anew.